You're listening to Tonebender's Sound Design Podcast, presented by Sound Ideas. This is the show where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, games, and series. Sound Ideas works with partners across the creative industries to distribute professional sound libraries, and they're always looking to grow their collection. If you've created your own sound effects library or are currently developing one, Sound Ideas is interested in acquiring high-quality collections from creators, whether it's a focus collection or a wide-ranging release. They offer a trusted platform with global distribution, professional licensing, metadata support, and a team that understands the craft. If you have a sound effects library and are interested in selling it, Sound Ideas would like to hear from you. Hey everyone, my name is Tim Muirhead and welcome to Tonebenders. Today you're going to hear the audio from the live interview Tonebenders did in Mexico City in front of a couple hundred people in a beautiful space within the SAE Institute. This was truly a special day. I had so much fun. It started during the day with 3 master classes at the school from myself on sound design for children's animation. Then Brian Armstrong, the supervising sound editor on Walking Dead and an Emmy winner for Shogun, talked about his work on these shows. And finally, a super interesting talk by Tonebenders co-founder René Coronado about his work designing sounds for in-house presentations at sports events. This was a topic I knew very little about, and I learned so much along with everybody else there. Then in the afternoon, there were 2 live panel discussions, one in English that you're about to hear with the sound team behind Pan's Labyrinth, and a second talk that took place in Spanish about the current state of audio post-production in Mexico and what it will look like going forward. This was followed by a party with free food and drinks going late into the evening. They literally had to kick us all out of the place. It was one of the most awesome nights I've ever had. The whole day was magical, the weather was perfect, the people were awesome, the food was delicious. I loved everything about my trip to Mexico City for this presentation. I want to send a big thanks out to the motion picture sound editors and the SAE Institute for sponsoring this event. In particular, I want to thank Carlos Hans, Carlos Barraza, and Roberto de la Peña Flores from SAE. Their support was invaluable for putting this all together. Although 2 other live Tonebenders episodes have come out recently, the F1 episode with the sound team from that Oscar-winning film, and the Surat episode that was done live here in Toronto, this Pan's Labyrinth episode was actually recorded before either of those and is just coming out now. So this was the first time that I was interviewing someone in front of a live audience, and my nerves were raw. But I was lucky enough to do it with my original Tonebenders co-creator, René Coronado, who joined me in Mexico City and joined me on stage for this interview. René and I have only met in person a couple of times, even though we made over 200 episodes of this show together. So it's always an occasion for celebration when I get to hang out with René, and to get to do it in Mexico City was even better. With my nervousness at an all-time peak when we hit the stage to do this interview, I completely forgot to introduce myself and René to the audience, but I think after that, things went okay from there. Before we get to the interview with the sound team from Pan's Labyrinth, recently I was able to get an extremely short interview with the director and writer of Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro, when he received the Filmmaker Award at this year's Cinema Audio Society Awards. I was able to tell him about the Mexico City event and get some quick thoughts from him about his time with the sound team from Pan's Labyrinth. So let's hear from Guillermo del Toro himself. Here we go. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but back in October in Mexico City, there was an event celebrating Pan's Labyrinth where I got to interview 3 members of the sound team in front of 150 sound people in Mexico City. It was the first time that many people had got together from the sound community in Mexico City. It was all to celebrate your film.
Martin, it was a great team, and I think we pushed everybody a little too much.
They look back on it fondly. It was Martin, Alejandro, and Jaime. They had great things to say about you, and I was wondering if maybe you could give me a memory of working with them.
Yeah, they had a very ruthless nickname for me. They called me the half decibel. Because I used to say, give me half a decibel more here, half a decibel more. But it was really, really funny because I'm Mexican to Mexican, we can be pretty brutal. So we gave each other a really hard time.
Well, the movie is one of the all-time classics. So many people, it's one of their favorites. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, and have a good night.
You too. How cool is that I got to talk with Guillermo del Toro? This being an audio-only podcast, you don't get to see the excitement in his eyes when I asked him about working on the sound for this film. He really did just light up when he was searching his memories about that time period. So that's a great appetizer for the full talk we're about to hear. So let's go back in time to October 21st, 2025, at the beautiful SAE Institute in Mexico City for our talk with re-recording mixer Jaime Bashed, supervising sound editor and sound designer Martin Hernandez, and sound editor and designer Alejandro Quevedo to talk about their work on Guillermo del Toro's modern-day classic, Pan's Labyrinth. Hello, and welcome to Tone Benders, where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, games, and series. That's awesome. As you can tell, we are live in Mexico City. We're going to talk about the film Pan's Labyrinth, which is one of my all-time favorite films. We're lucky enough to have the sound crew here with us, and we've got a live audience of some of our new best friends here in Mexico City. So let's welcome the people that we're going to be talking to today. Well, first of all, everybody in this room knows about Pan's Labyrinth, but for people listening at home, Pan's Labyrinth is consistently listed as one of the top films of this century so far. As I said, it's one of my favorite films. It masterfully mixes fairy tales, magical things, and the brutality of war in a way that I don't think anyone had ever seen before. The movie has amazing visuals. It won Oscars for makeup, costumes, or makeup, set design, and cinematography. So the sound crew had a lot to live up to match the beauty, and they lived up to it because it sounds absolutely amazing as well. So let's take this opportunity to introduce ourselves to the sound team. First up, we have Martin Hernandez, the supervising sound editor and sound designer. Come on up.
Yeah.
The sound designer and editor, Alejandro Quevedo.
Woo! And finally, we have re-recording mixer Jaime Bashed.
Gracias.
So first off, I just want to say thanks for coming down today. This is awesome. As I think I've already mentioned twice, this is one of my all-time favorite films. I love this movie. So I guess the first question I want to ask, maybe Martin, you can start, is what were you thinking when you saw these visuals start coming in, when you start to have to work on these scenes and realize what an amazing feature you were about to step into?
Well, we were very lucky to start with a script. And this is something that actually in one of your podcasts with Randy Tom, he was saying about the opportunity of start working early on the process with a script, which is rare. And but first of all, can I say a couple things on a small detour from
Definitely.
Your question, because I see many familiar faces here and good friends that have been along the road. I started late, around 1998 when we did Amores Perros, and that's barely 31 years or something, 30-something.
You are old, my friend.
Yeah, I'm 61. So many of you guys were not even born, which is funny. And but anyways, I had the pleasure of working with some of you, good friends, and I'm very excited about that because this job has allowed me to experience that learning curve that belongs to everyone. And this job has made me very happy, allowed me to do that. No? I see kids here that have worked with me, that still work with me. When I say kids, I mean kids. And obviously, when we did the Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo was also a kid. He came before that. He did Kronos, which is an amazing film. And everyone back in the day, when we watched Kronos, we thought this is an amazing piece in every aspect: the storytelling, the acting, the concept, the gore, whatever really explains Guillermo at his best, and he has kept that, I'm pretty sure, with Frankenstein, he's still doing the same, is that capability of bringing to life, to reality, what is unreal. And then it is no longer unreal. It belongs to the everyday nightmares or dreams of everyone. So that was very much the story behind Kronos, a vampire, a reluctant vampire. Anyways, when he was working on the script for Pan's Labyrinth, he wanted to do the shooting in Spain because it's a Spaniard-based story. And he gave us the script, and he said, would you like to join this? Obviously, when he was saying would, I was already saying yes. And we shared the script. We were reading the script, and I recorded the scenes. He was about to shoot. He was still not shooting. And I told him what we can do, because time is the real luxury is time. So what we can do is invest in time in creating some ideas with the script as if this is a radio story. So we did little pieces of radio stories, which I still have.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and they are still recorded on Sound Designer too. You know, that's fucking old. And then we gave him these things for him to understand where we were heading. There were many other stories on the opening. There was an eye, and there was like a meta-universe. It was very complicated at the beginning. It wasn't the way it ended up. Anyway, so we did a lot of these scenes. The frog, the pale man, obviously the pan. And doing a film, and you guys know this, obviously you know this, the films are a three-leg table. You have money, time, and hopefully with talent you have good results. But again, if you start messing with the table, then, okay, we don't have enough money, but we want quality, then give me time. That's it. No, you don't have, sometimes people come to us and they ask for, a high expectation thing. But we don't have money. Okay, but do you have time? No, we have to deliver this for now. Then how do you expect, in the world of whom, to deliver something that you expect from us? That would be very unfair to say that, yeah, we can do that. I learned the hard way, and later I will tell you, remember me to tell you the bad story of Pan's Labyrinth and Babel, and Guillermo and Alejandro saying to me in this sushi, EN Sushi in Santa Monica, saying, you're going to fuck us because we're going to collide. And I was saying, I don't think so, because, you're going to start later and you are going to finish earlier, so I'll have space. I was lying to myself, they lied to themselves, we all lied, and I took both, which was very stupid for me to do, because they're your friends and you want to help your friends, and in the end you end up not helping. It was a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. And Guillermo was very gracious and patient sometimes.
Yeah, we were taking care of two monsters. I'm not talking about the persons.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the movies. Both movies are huge, so we were in a way of pain.
We started working with Foley first. Back in the day, we had a Foley stage in our company, and I love doing Foley. It's a beautiful, it's a playground, and we just spent hours and hours and cases of bottles of red wine, and just stay through the night, doing all the raw material that I needed for the sounds, because you don't get that anywhere. No, you need wood, you need paper, you need tomatoes. It's all that beautiful thing that you do. And we just did a lot of wild tracks. And sometimes we also did some sync sound, Foley. But then again, because we had a lot of time, we enjoyed doing this Foley. And the first time we went to show this to Guillermo at Warner, he was, I don't know why, we were doing sound recordings with his voice, actually. Mm-hmm. Roland was there. Yep. And Roland Tai, he's an old friend, amazing sound editor also from the MPSC. God bless him. He was there recording us. Guillermo, he likes to do his creature voices.
Do them himself, you mean?
Yeah. He was doing the pale and all these things, and I still have all that.
He says something like, "Wait a minute, cabrones. I'm gonna do the voices. I'm gonna do the monsters. So you have to record myself. You have to record me in Warner." So it was a quite experience.
Then we were on the stage doing the playback, and he was recording, no? And then we showed him some scenes because he was still cutting the film. So, everything is a recipe for disaster because you see more things coming and coming and coming and scenes changing and new reels return. And after that playback, I asked him, "How do you feel? How do you say mano de obra, the handwork in Mexico?" Yeah, exactly. Labor in Mexico is cheap. He said, because we worked 6 months for that, and it was good. No, it was not even mixed properly, but it was very creative. Obviously, because everything was tailor-made. It was Mexican, like Alejandro likes to say, it was cacañanga. It had the stew was a lot of things nicely made on the stew. And then we came with Jaime, and we were just sending all this shit in a very unorganized manner because we had zero experience layering tracks. And then I had to be in LA for Babel because Alejandro was zero patient. Sergio Diaz, who should be here, he was editing the dialogue, and he started going to LA first to play back the dialogue. They did a lot of ADR in Spain, and he texts me an email and says, "Man, we're in hell here. Guillermo wants to open the tracks and go back and forget the pre-dubs. He wants to start from scratch." And someone told me a long time ago, said, "Are you working with Guillermo?" "Yeah." "Oh, bring your library." And then Jaime had a beautiful story about those times in Mexico when I was not here.
Pan's Labyrinth was a really big movie for Mexico at that moment. And because it was very unorganized also, you can imagine that some reels get to us at 29.97 and other reels at 30. So we have a combination of these two. And also the music came in 25 frames.
And the visual effects were made in Spain.
And the visual effects were made in Spain, so sometimes at 25.
And we didn't have the technology to do that.
At the studio we used to have one Pro Tools, 24 outputs, very good ones, digitals, Apogee, beautiful. SSL digital console, 250 tracks, and one Fairlight that was able to record 96 tracks simultaneously.
That was a recorder.
Yeah, that was a recorder. But the problem was that the movie was 800 tracks. So when we realized that, at some moment in my life, I said, well, probably if I want to continue to work in the movie industry, I'm going to sell hot dogs outside Cinemex, and that's the closest I'm going to be from the industry because someone is going to throw me away. It's crazy. We should stop this craziness. We are not going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have a partner, a very young partner, a lady, Michelle Kutulenk. She was very young. She was like 26 years. And with her, we designed a complete new way of working because we need to put 800 tracks into a Pro Tools of 24 tracks, into a console that is only handling 250, and we can record 96 simultaneously. Remember the numbers. And the other numbers you need to remember is that Michelle, it was she's third film, not supposed to be trained to do that. Not any one of us.
Yeah.
But this was an advantage because she didn't have any problem having always working in a way. So we changed completely the way of working in order to accommodate this project. The limit of our system at the end of the story was how much disk for recording we have. So we create pages in the Fairlight, 96 pages per character. The pants have 2 pages, 96, but all the ferries, each ferry have his own page or probably 2, and then all the dialogues in another, etc. And we did a master page in which we put final stems in that thing. And if we need more, we premix it and create another one. So we create infinite number of pages. And at that moment, we have the internet in Mexico already. And Martin, because he was working in LA with Alejandro, and Alejandro was working with Alejandro, they sent us files through internet, pages and pages, and I send you more and more, an infinite amount of things. But as soon as we realized to work that way, we've been able to receive all these files. So once we solve this thing, then we start to think in Pan's Labyrinth, how we want them to sound, following all your ideas.
Yeah, and it was a nightmare for us because we were in the morning, we were doing the day shift of Babel, its own monster on its own. And then Alejandro and I stayed late nights. So the average sleeping time was about 4 hours. And I couldn't sleep more because I was very concerned about the visuals that they were sending us for Pans. And there were a lot of things that we never saw, no? Like a new ferry or stuff like that, no? Visual effects, which is obviously something really important. So we stayed long nights doing that, sending here. And then at one point, Sergio said, well, I can't keep up with these changes and all this. So I asked Alejandro, please, can you take a plane? Because I knew if I asked Alejandro, can I leave? Let me just go, I don't know, 2 weeks, no? And we are on the early stages of Babel. It would be no, completely no. So he came, you fly to.
Yeah, back and forth all the time, all the weekends I have to back and forth. Maybe I stay here in Mexico like a couple of weeks and then go back to LA to finish Babel. Was kind of a nightmare. For me, it was my own Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, and it's funny because we didn't, even Guillermo, we never knew the size of the film, the impact. Just like with Amores Perros, when we were doing Amores Perros, it happened the same, or Cidade de Deus, or Pans. We never understood the size of that beast and the impact it was going to have. When Guillermo sold Pan's Labyrinth, he never thought, oh, wait, this is Pan's Labyrinth. Now it's a completely different story.
And in all this process, he started to see the kind of monsters that he had. So for him was a discover. He discovered a new movie in the sound stage. So that's why the nightmare.
And he loves to do that because he wanted to play. He wanted to play more ideas, more characters, more things. He started recording more things and asking us to send. So it was a very, how do you say it? Very, not capricious. It's very from the inside, no? From the guts. It's a very unorganized thing. And you can see it and you can hear it. And I like that. I love that about these films that have some... If you walk in this city, we are obviously from this city, you see that in this variety of smells, how unorganized the organized is and it's not really organized. And that's the uniqueness that we can actually provide. No, if otherwise we will be probably doing Danish films in Denmark, which are great on their own. What I'm saying is that it's so different. And we do mole here. No, we do other dishes, and that's something that we should never forget, that the more you make mistakes, sometimes that's the uniqueness of it, and we certainly learn.
And in the top of that, he has no patience. So you have to do you have to you have to have everything ready in less than 5 minutes.
Oh, well, Alejandro is not Mr. Patient.
Well, that's why I'm saying that we were taking care of two monsters.
Sí, sí, sí. Yeah.
Well,
What was the question?
okay, just a quick interruption to tell you about the next Tonebenders live recording that is happening very soon. This time it will be virtual and you can join in from anywhere in the world. I'll be talking with two key members from the sound team from Netflix hit series One Piece, as season 2 has just been released. Re-recording mixer Gavin Fernandez and supervising sound editor Paul Call will be joining me as part of AirCon, the amazing, completely free and entirely online sound conference happening from May 21st to May 23rd this year. Head to aircon26.com to find out more. The Tonebenders Live Talk will be the last session on Friday, May 22nd at 4:45 p.m. my time, Eastern Standard, or 1:45 p.m. Pacific, or at 9:45 p.m. British time. Please do the time zone math yourself for wherever you're located. Again, this is entirely free, so show up on your screen of choice and follow along with what I'm sure will be a really fun talk. I will also be moderating a panel earlier that day called Sound Guilds and Why You Should Join Them, with an amazing panel to talk about what these groups do and how they can help out your career. Please head to aircon26.com to find out all the details, and I'll see you soon. When you're watching the film, right from the beginning, one of the first sounds that is so arresting is the sound of the insect that is also the fairy. It is an amazing sound design because it's an insect that has a personality immediately. Do you want to talk about how you approach that and how many iterations you went through and such?
Yeah. As you know, as with the insect, el insecto palo, no?
It's a mantis.
It's a mantis, sort of a mantis, no? It's based on a mantis. Well, anyways, he calls it the insecto palo. And when we watched it moving and doing his thing, as with every creature in the film, we thought, oh, we're gonna need the material, no, the DNA for this. So I thought we should have. I remember and again, the Foley room is a playground. So I remember grabbing a wind-up toy, but it had these things that it moved.
These little musical boxes.
Yeah, it was like a musical box, but it had these two strings, like metallic strings, doing this, and we hit it against different fabrics. So we had raw materials of stuff like that, and pencils, and everything, whatever. And then it's a lot of cutting, very meticulous cutting. Dana Blanco was helping us doing the fairies, playing with all sorts of material. Then again, we were so naive in many ways that if you overthink things, you don't do it. I don't recommend that. I always recommend forget and do it again. It was painful, yes. There is no woman who remembers completely, the baby birth. If you have that in mind, you don't have any other. And I think it should be like a baby birth. No, it's painful, but it's joyful. In the end, now we're celebrating and we're going to get drunk later. I'll do that any day, but today is going to be a special thing. And the thing is that I like understanding that it's going to be a difficult moment. It always is. And sometimes the more I see that coming, I know that it's also going to be very joyful later. It's a difficult thing to explain. But the thing is that I don't recommend overthinking. It's just go. Go, make a mistake, yes, and that's it. There is no shortcut. And there is no way to avoid the pain. And the more you see yourself in the mirror, and every morning you say, I am a liar. No, I shouldn't be doing this. I suck big time. This is bad. Why did they hire me? The better. Because that's a fact. Because when I see the films I've worked with, I am amazed by the actual film. But every time I hear the sound, it's like, oh, the outcome was so short. I remember Alejandro and I once were invited precisely to the Danish Film Festival, And we were in a university of film, and they played a reel of Amores Perros. It sounded like shit. And Alejandro's like turning to me, and, Gordo, this sounds horrible. I know. Who did the sound? And it's bad. Obviously, because we already fantasized. So, Amores Perros, yeah, you remember he had a nice crash, no? Yeah, and some dogs and stuff like that. But then you confront that in a real film, again, in a theater, calibrated, Danish size, no? And it was horrible. And wow, we're gonna make a fun of ourselves here in front of all this, fine audience who are actually studying what they shouldn't do. Well, take a look. But again, if we were not, again, prepared to fail, then we shouldn't be here. No, like Jaime said, well, yeah, many times we thought about not doing this, no? How many times? Almost every movie.
Every time. No, I would like to say something about the ferries and the contribution of Mr. Guillermo del Toro in the ferries. Because there was 3 ferries, the red, the green, and the blue. So the elements of all the ferries were almost the same because they were ferries. But Guillermo searched some of the elements of the wings. So he said, okay, for the green one, remove this element. But for the red one, bring it back to the red one. So the red one is going to have a little bit of the green one, but in the red one. And for the blue, definitely just leave the only. Remove everything else. So when they start to fly around the stage, it was very simple to recognize which ferry was. So this was a really clever Mr. Guillermo.
Yeah.
So
That's a
unfortunately,
mushroom. That's a mushroom trip.
yes,
On
that's
its own, just the idea.
the thing is, the ferries appears in different moments. So we need to do all this re-teaming of the ferries in all the moments. And because we were in pages, as I said to you, we need to go back to abandon the mix, go back to each page of each ferry, import, export, whatever, remix it, and then finally we have each ferry for each moment. So it took ages, but it was a big system.
I remember that in my Pro Tools, I have like more than 20 tracks per each ferry. Was like, because every ferry has a move, they land, everything was kind of a big thing.
I rewatched it yesterday, and the couple of things that really stuck out to me about Pan, the fun, the vocal performance, spectacular. The additional vocal elements when he was speaking, right? Yeah. The weight of his feet, and the creaking of his body. Can we talk about how we came together with all the elements for the title character of the film?
Well, the actor, who's an amazing performer, he's worked with Guillermo forever. I forgot the name of this guy, and I'm sorry for that. I should remember now. He did the Silver Surfer. Doc Jones.
Doc Jones.
Yes, thank you for that. He's an amazing performer, and he learned some Espanol, and he did some of the lines to perform. He wanted to. He told Guillermo, I can do this in Espanol, and he did it amazingly well. No? He did all the performance, so to speak, that allowed us to cut some goats. And I steal some goats from Babel because there's a lot of goats in the movie. And I was just stealing. There was a goat in Babel that had a cough. It was the goat. And I took this, that's super nice, and I put some of the in between the dialogues. And I just send it, and God bless. I have a session that actually has that, but again, we should dig into the session and open it again. But this is one thing that I remember editing at night and sending to these guys, and then I regret not being there, no, to get all this. But I remember sending emails or over the phone saying, we need to hear the wake. I love the wake of animals in general. If you're close to an animal, they have a specific, very characteristic wake.
And if I don't hear the weight, you are fired. I remember that. We spent a lot of time doing Foley for the steps, just for the steps. But the other part was a lot of sound design, a lot of trees, leaf, everything that can help to do that kind of help, that kind of weight.
I remember
Because-
we had the recording of a log just falling on the ground, and it has this weight and this resonance, and we cut some of that for the actual feed.
I remember that Jaime, you add an amazing river in the footsteps of the pan. It was amazing. I remember.
Oh, the one with the box. Yeah. You still use that.
I think
Well,
so.
What's the
which
name?
one
It's
is
a
that?
lexicon.
A lexicon.
It's a lexicon.
Yeah. But also what happened with the pans was that we start to mix, because it was the principal character in most of the things. So we start to mix it like very stereo. And then we realized that this will not work because we need to be able to move completely all the steps, all the bodies, all the voices, and all together to be a complete unit.
Yeah, integrated sound.
And
Yeah.
in a different stages.
And different moments and different
Exactly.
stages. But the thing is, yeah, in some moments we open it, but most of the time we found that if we make it more mono and all move together, so we link a lot of things because we have this page of the pans. We've been able in the SSL to link all the panners, so we could move perfectly together, all, you know? Lovely.
Chef's kiss.
And that board, no, the sound of the board, you just pull through that any sound, and instantly it sounds amazing. No, the early days of Pro Tools were not good. No, you needed a real digital converter such as this, or
Nowadays,
The DFC.
we need the good converters, good machines.
yeah.
I wonder if we can talk about the sound of the houses and the buildings in it. It's actually a plot point in the film that the young character is hearing the house and it's creeping around. But throughout the whole film, the buildings have a personality, a character to them. Can you tell us about building those?
That's a good question, Tim, because it's a set. It's I went there to record the woods around, which didn't work because there was like an airport very nearby. And even when I went recording at night, there was a lot of the city thing, and the story obviously happens in another time, another century. So I was cutting a scene, and we were in a company that had an advertising company. So we were doing jobs for commercials and Pan's Labyrinth. One of the creatives in the advertising company, Nacho Borja, he came to the room, say hi, hey, and he looks the screen. Wow, that looks amazing, man. What is that? And we talk about, oh, it's a scene. Oh, my aunt has a house exactly like that. I said, what do you know? This house is in Hidalgo, in a town called El Chico in Hidalgo, and it's like a fairy tale road. You go down the pine woods, you do circles, like actually entering a labyrinth, and the fog, and then all of a sudden you're in between two big, huge mountains that are almost like a building, you know? And there was this house built in 1800, a wood house, the real deal. And you could actually shoot a film there because it's exactly like that. Those things you cannot prepare or plan, no? How Nacho entered the room, watched the scene. He could have entered in another scene, and I would never have that, no? We went with Dana, Sergio, Alex, and I with our recorders.
And we record everything. I remember that we record the squeaky sink, the windows, the doors, the floor.
Everything.
Even we have an amazing footsteps from the other floor.
Yeah, from above.
I use those sounds
Below, yeah.
already. I mean, I'm still using it. There was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I used some of that for for True Detective now this last season, and some of the voices of Guillermo in one of the characters of True Detective one episode, we sent him an email. Isa, who gets very well with Guillermo, said, "Can we steal this sound for the creature?" Is there?
And I'm sure
But nobody knows.
Now they do. So, Jaime, what was it like mixing all these sounds to surround everybody in the house and the barns and such?
Well, it was an amazing feeling. I mean, as soon as the movie started to sound the way we wanted, everybody was really surprised. And basically, Guillermo del Toro was really surprised at the end of the story. He was very happy with the result. We spent a lot of time doing pages, as I explained to you, character by character, bringing all together in order to finally be able to have something to Guillermo, say, to really play with the emotion. Because for Guillermo del Toro, sound is emotion, and you need to have all the elements ready. In our system was a little bit difficult because we need to go back and forward. So we said, wait for us and then come back. And he was really nice with us, and he had the patience, and but it was complex, very complex, but very at the end of the story very.
As a movie is, no? It's horrible but beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah. I would like to say something. Yesterday, I was talking with a colleague, Jaime Sanz, who's a great sound designer, and he's around. And I see a lot of these kids that have grown the last 7 years along the projects that I've had the opportunity to do. And we were talking, we were driving back from Montana, and we had a lot of time to the airport, no? And we had a lot of time to talk. And this thing that Jaime Bakst mentioned about sound is emotion, and there seems to be, in my experience, a lack of that connection from many colleagues, seasoned colleagues, or new guys, that there is no connection between the emotion and the technology. Like, I don't know if that's the case, but as if the scenes, they don't mean much. They are there, but they don't mean anything. And it happens a lot. And that's a problem because you don't, it's not like put what you see. It's not like that. It's put what you feel, what you think you are hearing and feeling. That is more important. Where is the scene coming from? Where is it going? Why is the character there? And it sounds different when he's here. Is he stressed? You don't look in the libraries because the name of the files. That's a bad idea. Very bad idea. You hear, and almost by serendipity, there is a sound that actually goes with Jaime. Show me that word, which is genosonio, no? Sonogenia.
Sonogenia.
Sonogenia, which means that it has the genetic information of the sound. So it's a sound that actually has the genetic information of what you see. And sometimes directors have told us, I don't know what movie you're watching. And I understand what they're saying. I am not watching what they are watching. And the first thing we should grab, and this is something I heard in one of your podcasts, again with Randy, is that we used to think, oh yeah, that's the AAF and the editor's cut. Oh well, we have better sounds. No, don't touch the AAF. For one reason, that's the emotional map that the director and the editor have been feeling for months before we arrive. So we better keep it there, keep it close. And then you can move around, fine tune, sometimes maybe even mute it, but little by little, because the director, they don't like you to show your great sounds that are exactly detached from every emotional information that he's been working for a long time. So that's super important. What am I watching? No, sometimes very good seasoned editors, they put a lot of sounds and none of them work. when everything is important, nothing is important. I like the trees, but I also like the car, and I also like the dog. Okay, but what do you want me to see? What do you want me to hear? Because I cannot pay attention to your amazing library and the detail you put in what this and that. It's about the film. It's about where the acting is. It's about what the story is. And if I understand that, then I can be very good in my job.
I've seen directors give the note that, hey, I can hear all those plugins that you're putting on. You're trying to impress me. Turn all that off and mute all that stuff, and let's talk about the story, right? Yeah. And you also talked about how with Pan, you guys started with the script. And the cool thing about starting with the script is that you get to imagine everything before you get to see everything that everyone's done. We have to wrap pretty soon, but I'd love for maybe Alejandro, you can talk to me a little bit about how you went from the script to your first ideas and how that kind of went through.
We keep some of that sounds, the sketches that we did, but everything was changing all the time with the visuals. Not only the visuals, the sound itself was changing all the time, because Guillermo, like I said, was discovering his movie in the sound stages and in the process of editing. So everything was changing and getting bigger, bigger and bigger. And when we came to the stage with all these sounds and all this mess, Jaime, I know, my friend, I'm sorry. Maybe I have...
I love you.
I need to say this, I'm sorry, man. Jaime make it even bigger and make changes, and Guillermo with that base discover a new movie and create new ideas and new stuff and the conversation was changing even. No, it was an amazing. It was an amazing process. What I enjoyed most was the stage. Even if it was hard, very hard to take, was a very enjoyable process.
But also, I think that when you read the script, before you have an image, before you have, you can't create your own idea of how the film should sound. You need to be able to imagine a lot of things and start to work in the emotional side more than in the narrative side.
That's exactly right, because we actually gave that to Guillermo, his editor, which was this amazing guy from Barcelona. Remember? Bernard.
Bernard.
Really good. He came.
Yeah. He was with us.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we sent him those elements and without the voiceover, with the voiceover and without the voiceover, and they already had them incorporated in the scenes, no? Like the sound of the wood, some of the insect things, no? And they already belong to the film, no? Because they are the first information that the director gets and the editor gets, and we like what you did on this and that and that, and it stays. It will stay, and that has happened to us in many films. The very first sound you send, the better, because they belong immediately, and they're gonna be hard to leave for a better one. If we're lucky, if we have time, we won't have.
Jaime, Alejandro, Martin, thank you very much for hosting us here in Ciudad Mexico. I love this.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, guys.
Gracias. Viva México, cabrón.
That talk was so much fun to be a part of. Once again, a massive thanks to the SAE Institute and the Motion Picture Sound Editors for sponsoring and hosting this amazing event. Thanks to Carlos Haas for editing this episode. And finally, thanks to everyone that came out to this event to make it such a great success. There are so many amazing people that do super interesting and innovative sound work in Mexico City and the country as a whole. Thanks for all your support and helping grow the sound community. Remember to log in for the upcoming virtual live Tonebenders episode with the sound team behind One Piece Season 2 on Friday, May 22nd. Go to aircon26.com to get the start time for your area. My name is Tim Muirhead. Thanks for listening to Tonebenders, everyone. Sound Ideas works with partners across the creative industries to distribute professional sound libraries, and they're always looking to grow their collection. If you've created your own sound effects library or are currently developing one, Sound Ideas is interested in acquiring high-quality collections from creators, whether it's a focus collection or a wide-ranging release. They offer a trusted platform with global distribution, professional licensing, metadata support, and a team that understands the craft. If you have a sound effects library and are interested in selling it, Sound Ideas would like to hear from you. Tonebenders is produced by me, Timothy Muirhead. Theme music is by Jim Guthrie. You can reach me via email through info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow Tonebenders on Instagram to stay on top of new episodes. If you like the show, you can help us out by spreading the word to your friends and colleagues, or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click support. First up, let's do a big cheer as loud as you can go, okay? So 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we need you to boo us, okay? So 3, 2, 1. That was awesome. I never thought I'd want to be on the stage being booed by a bunch of people before, but that was awesome. So let's try and do one where we go from booing into cheering. So let's imagine we're at the wrestling match, the bad guy's winning, and then all of a sudden the good guy starts turning the tides, okay? So watch René, he'll conduct this, okay? So we're gonna start with the boo and go into the cheering, okay? 3,
2, 1.
That was fantastic. Thank you very much.